I want to approach every project from a very pure and authentic starting point. And just like from the beginning of when I painted, I'm painting because it makes me feel good, because there's a story that needs to be told, and it makes me happy in this moment. And I want to bring that same authenticity and joy when I create, regardless if it's, for the Bulls or for Wayfair or just for myself or creating a t-shirt for you. I want that same essence to be present on everything that I do.
I Am Consciously Curious, a podcast for those that are searching for meaning and fulfillment in their lives. My name is Victor Chan, and I'm on a mission to find out why people do what they do. I've interviewed white-collar to blue-collar, entrepreneurs to passion projects, and life is just too short to not produce meaningful work. Thanks for tuning in. We're live. Alyssa Low, good to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
How have you been? Because I feel like what a time to be alive to be Alyssa. I feel like momentum of waves are coming and coming and coming, and it's like, how many pinch me moments have you had in like the last couple years?
Oh, just a lot, and honestly, it always still feels very new and fresh.
Yeah,
like there isn't a time where I feel like, oh yeah, of course, like I always get very shocked and amazed and flattered and humbled, like all at the same time, when there's new projects coming up, or when someone reaches out to me. I feel it still feels like day one. Yeah,
and I'm sure there's a humility to it, to the size of the project or the size of the brand. Have you reached a point where you feel like you're stretched thin, you have to say no to certain projects?
Lately, yes.
Wow.
And it's tough because I want to do
so many things. If all.
Yeah, there's like this internal like competitive spirit in me where I'm like, yeah, I can do it, and I want to do it because I know what it's like to not get those opportunities, and there's that FOMO of if I say no, like does that mean like I'm not going to get another opportunity later? But in those moments I really have to focus and really center myself and say, okay, do I have the capacity? Like I have to look at it as like a tank of water. Like, do I have enough in me to do it?
Is this a trade or a thing that I can't imagine you outsourcing any of it, because it's you. It's like, it's all you. It's like a one-man show, one woman show. It's like, how are you supposed to? But I did see, I forgot what place it was. It was like, it said painted by Right Way Signs.
Yes.
And I was like, how did that work out?
Yeah. I think there's, I've had a conversation with a friend about this recently. Like, you've been so busy, like people reaching out, like, is there ever a chance, like an opportunity to like outsource or collaborate? And it's yes and no.
Okay.
I think when it comes to the concept, the idea, the creation of coming up with the actual design, I feel like that has to be me.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that I don't talk to other folks, get feedback.
Yeah.
But in terms of building the actual piece, like I feel like that's me, because I take the time to really flush those ideas out. And sometimes I go like several hours on it, and then moments where I like need a pause and say, all right, I need to put it away and come back with like a fresh mind later. But where I do lean on other folks to collaborate is the actual execution of the mural. So for instance, like you were saying with Right Way Signs, they painted a mural for me at Cava. I think with like scheduling conflicts, I think I was originally planning on painting it, but then the client that I was working with, they had a timeline that they needed to.
And that's the outlier. Most of it is it's all you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But at the same time, like it takes a lot of skilled folks to be able to paint it. But also at the same time, I feel like anyone can in some ways.
Is that your imposter syndrome speaking up, or what do you mean? Anyone can do this?
Anyone can. I feel like anyone has the ability to be creative, to paint.
Okay.
And I've found that through a recent collaboration with Babe Sports Bar. Their first women's sports bar in Chicago. They're opening up sometime this fall this year. And I painted a mural for their back patio. And what we did was Nora, the co-founder, her and we were talking about, how to bring in the community to paint and be a part of Babe's story. And I said, let's have people come and paint the mural with us.
Okay.
And these are friends from my women's soccer team, friends from her community, and, people that have, creative backgrounds, no creative backgrounds. It ranges. And everyone did so well. And it was just so nice to be able to collaborate, meet new people. And, a friend of mine who was painting, she's like, this is very therapeutic. She's like, this is so relaxing.
Spark some joy in people.
Yeah. And I feel like, it's, that to me says, like, makes me believe. And, I believed it before, but like seeing it play out, that like anyone can do it.
Yeah. I mean, you, time and time again, I've probably got that pinch me moment every time you see your work be enjoyed by the consumers. So let's say the one example that comes to mind recently was the Chicago Marathon. All right. And now other people at Babes gets to partake in that. And that feeling when Babes finally opens of like they're now enjoying the patio, but then they like share their moments with their friends that are there with them. Yeah,
exactly. I heard one individual say, every time I come onto the patio, I'm going to say, I painted that basketball. And it's like, yeah, exactly. Like there's a part of everyone in that piece.
Yeah. To give listeners context into how it came upon your work, it was through Steph Krim of Good Things Vending. And I don't know if you were planning on going to the reveal at Revolution, but I missed. I saw Katie there, and I missed you. I don't know if you were planning on going, but that kind of spawned on your page, and then all the other work that you've been doing. I can't imagine if growing up, I know you were immersed in art at an early age. If you have always wanted to meld the worlds together, the sports world with the arts world, and it's all happening right now.
It really is, and I don't think I really realized it until the last couple years.
Yeah.
Because growing up, like you were saying, I had these two paths of being someone who's creative, but also sports and being active was a huge part of my life. Growing up playing soccer, volleyball, doing taekwondo, field hockey, kind of like literally pretty much anything and everything except for, gymnastics and ice skating. I did a little bit of that, but I learned very quickly that's not for me.
Yeah.
But also too, my mom before she retired was a graphic designer, owned her own business, and had a studio inside our childhood home. And I was so curious about it, and was wanting to hang out in her studio all the time, wanting to draw or paint or work on the computer. And she taught me all of the Adobe programs.
At what age?
Grade school. I believe it's probably grade school, because like I don't ever remember using any Microsoft products until it was taught in like middle school.
Pre-teens then.
Yeah. So I was like...
And you were grasping it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
This is your Sims. When all the other kids are playing Sims. Right?
Yeah.
So what were you modeling the work that your mom was doing? Like what type of work would she freelance for?
So one of her biggest clients was Sears at the time.
The catalog, or like what type of work within Sears?
She was doing some catalog work. A lot of their like photography.
Okay.
Did a lot of annual reports for corporate clients.
Okay.
So I saw a lot of photo retouching.
Okay.
Typography and layout, and just understanding the digital space.
Yeah.
So, I think the projects that I worked on was probably like clipping out photos, doing collages.
Yeah.
Drawing shapes on Illustrator.
That is impossibly difficult for me. YouTube University on Illustrator.
Hey, and honestly, like tools like that didn't exist back then. So I'm sure now like there's more accessibility to learning those programs.
With your level of skill, what percentage of the Adobe suite do you feel like you're utilizing?
The suite itself, probably not.
Or let's say your go-to tools, like Illustrator, Photoshop, InDesign, if you do InDesign, like what percentage of those tools do you feel like because to be honest, I'm probably using 5% for what I'm doing, whether it's for podcast cutting or Adobe Premiere, Photoshop, Lightroom. Like I would love to just deep dive, but I don't have the bandwidth to deep dive right now, and it's I'm using just enough. But at the same time, I feel like I'm only using like the surface level of it.
Yeah. Well, honestly, probably 99% of it is Illustrator.
Okay.
Adobe Illustrator.
Yeah.
I do some Photoshop if I'm mocking things up for a client.
Okay.
But I honestly start right in Photoshop. I barely, if at all, sketch on paper.
Oh.
My brain just works that way in terms of laying out a composition.
Yeah.
Because everything is based on a grid and through shapes. So it's easier for me and it's quicker to move things around and be able to expand upon my ideas in that digital space as opposed to drawing it out.
Did that take some time? Because did you go to school in that time pre-iPads, pre-computer in a way? Or it was like just coming up? Like
it was pre-iPad.
Yeah, okay.
So I have a background in graphic design. I still practice that today. Went to school for graphic design, and I know once the transition between graduation and the real world. That's when Procreate, iPad apps started coming out, and I tried to dabble with it, but there was a curve. There was a learning curve. It was a curve. I didn't feel like I was efficient.
Okay.
I think that for me, when it comes to adding a new tool to my process, I need to think, okay, is this efficient for me?
Yeah.
And if it's not, then I kind of revert back to what I'm used to.
So, but how do you, because it obviously, it could be efficient for others, right? Like, so do you look at how others are utilizing it, like others that have made it efficient for them, and then kind of rewind, like reverse engineer, like, is this something that I could do? Like, would this workflow be efficient for me?
I first have to identify if it's a problem for me or if it's a challenge in the moment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's a good point. Yeah. So seeing how others are utilizing it and seeing if it would solve any of your pain points.
Yeah. But at the same time, like I see other artists, muralists, illustrators jumping straight into the iPad or sketching. And, when I do dabble with it and try it, I kind of think of the process, like how, yes, sketching on an iPad and using that as a tool to do my murals is something that is efficient for others. But when I go through that and try it, I'm like thinking, yeah, but I just, it's hard for me to then realistically say, okay, this is what I'll implement for everything else. But I have recently started using the MetaQuest.
Yeah, the AR, augmented reality.
Yeah, to outline my murals, and that has cut the time significantly in half.
I saw that one comment at the very bottom. It's like they're like they weren't happy with it. Is it a love-hate thing with that? Like some people are like, yes, this tool is going to expedite the process, and then why do others think it's like the same love and hate you hear about like AI? Like it's cheating.
Yeah, I've heard that before, and people have asked me, and to be honest, I don't care. I really don't care, because what it comes down to, like, I'm creating this for myself and for my client and partner on it, and if it allows me to save time, like I'm not using AI to replace the ideas or having it draw for me. It's more of like, I find it's saving my body.
Yeah, it's not coming up with the design or the shapes or the inspo. So it's like, where do they feel like the essence is being cheated? It's like those people that are wrestling with this. Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure it's coming from some level of insecurity. It is.
So for instance, like I could see where I have a strong stance of where I'm against AI.
Yeah.
is if you're using it to replace, for instance, like if you're designing a brand,
Okay.
right? And I'm going to have ChatGPT design it for me.
Yeah. What would you ask? What's your prompt? Like if
Oh,
you were
I
cheating,
wouldn't-
you
I
know,
wouldn't-
it's like,
yeah.
you know,
I know.
like bring the Nike logo, the McDonald's logo, and make it all meld it into one type thing. And like,
Yeah.
oh my God.
That's where it's hard for me to embrace AI in that way, when you're replacing a human brain and you're replacing the emotion and the connection with a brand to create something that is supposed to be empathetic, but it isn't. For me, tracing a mural using AI is transactional because I'm using it as a tool to create the emotional part, which is painting.
Good words, right? You're not replacing the emotional or the empathy, and it's simply transactional, which, like, in the grand scheme of things, sounds awful, but the whole thing isn't transactional. One aspect of it is transactional.
Yeah.
That's good. I like that. I like that a lot. I feel like with AI, it's how you use it, right? It's a tool.
It is.
I think if you use it well, it forces you to ask better questions and to think more precisely about what you want. And then what you do with what you get with those results is up to you. But I think if you do this long enough and you do use AI to cheat, it's empty. And
It is.
I think people know it too. Like, you can feel it.
Right. It's for yourself. It's not as fulfilling.
I can't imagine it being.
And I think the work that comes out of it isn't authentic.
Yeah. Where do you want to go? Where do you want to take this? Do you want to rewind the clock? Do you want to go back to Long Grove? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we could do that.
My parents are still in Palatine, so
Oh,
we
no
weren't
way.
too
We're
far
neighbors.
from each other. I know. Went to Friend, so when I heard he went to
okay.
Stevenson, I'm like, oh, pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah.
What did your dad do?
My dad was a dental tech.
That's cool.
It was really cool. So
Is that similar to a hygienist?
Well, no. So basically both of my parents worked from home, and he had a lab. So normally for dental techs, sometimes you could do it independently, or you could work for a company that like has the lab, and basically you're building the crowns, I don't know. Like
What?
fillings? Yeah. So basically he's like dealing with gold and porcelain to build these like molds of other people's teeth that like need fillings, and he's like filling it like with the tiniest brush with like all these like
Wow.
crazy tools.
So he had I'm sure, was he creative as well?
You have to have some type of skill and I guess like to be that precise. And I would say like he's creatively minded, but not necessarily in terms of like, like the traditional sense of like, have him like paint a mural or like paint something like, but he was like creatively minded.
It's really cool. So like on one side you get to see the computer side, and then there's like a 3D physical side in your home. When did your parents immigrate here?
Yeah, my mom moved here when she was 4 from Hong Kong.
4, okay.
And my dad was born here.
Whoa. Amazing.
Yeah.
So were they, I'm sure from all the sports you were doing, it sounded like you were very supported in extracurriculars and stoking like just finding out what does Alyssa like to do.
Yeah, I feel very lucky that my parents supported me on that and really just encouraged me to do things that, I was curious about and wanted to. We always, the Asian stereotype of be a doctor, be a lawyer. Like we've obviously like joked about that, but it was never one of those where they were like, you need to go to school for
Yeah, it
that.
wasn't like that.
No.
That's amazing. So did you see, like, was it felt that like on the scale of work-life balance, did they work to play or play to work or somewhere in between?
Ooh, I never examined that. It has to be
Especially
a mix
'cause they
of
work
both.
at home, too.
Yeah, it is a mix of both. I always felt, from what I remember in my childhood, they always had time for me and my sister.
Okay.
So it was never, there were definitely times where they were like, okay, I need to like be heads down, or I need to like focus on what I'm doing right now. But later on they'll like play with us in the backyard or kick the soccer ball around.
Right. Similar to what you're doing now, I'm thinking maybe your mom more so, did they meld multiple things together? Like how you're doing with sports and art? Like, did they do that? Like, did they do photography at all? And like do, with the catalogs or anything like that?
Yeah, my mom was really into photography.
Yeah.
And, she's very active too. She ran like a bunch of marathons. My dad actually played hockey. So he played for like a rec league in the suburbs. So it was a mix of, work, but active life. And I guess maybe now that I'm thinking about it, that
it makes so much
off
sense
on my sister and I.
Yeah. And by the time you had to like make that decision between high school and college, were you very intentional about it? Because I personally did not think twice about it. I floated through high school, and I probably floated through college as well. Mm-hmm. So I didn't put a lot of thought as to where I wanted to go. I knew my constraints were to stay in the state, but I kind of just floated through. So was there like, were your eyes set on Judson, or was it open to anywhere?
It was pretty much, I knew I wanted to do graphic design, and I knew I wanted to play soccer. Oh. And it never quite occurred to me to go necessarily way out of state, like to any of the coasts. So probably because I'm more of a natural homebody. Okay. But, I did my first 2 years at Carroll University in Waukesha, Wisconsin. Oh, nice. And then I transferred to Judson for the last 2 years.
And what was pulling you to Carroll?
A lot of it was soccer. Okay. So it was D3 soccer. Wow. And they had a pretty good graphic design program. Wow. So it was a mix of being able to do both. And
how was it? Like, was this through college fairs at your school, at your high school? Or like, how are you coming upon these places?
To be honest, some of it was some college fairs. I think I knew someone that, through different soccer camps. So like through high school, I did like soccer camps at NIU, Northwestern, where different like college coaches are there to watch, and did like a few in Wisconsin as well. So just kind of like putting feelers out there in those camps to see like what comes up. Yeah. But also at the same time too, like I think what was also happening was I was getting burnt out from soccer. Okay. And I didn't necessarily realize that burnout until my senior year
of high school,
of college, actually. Okay. So like, like you were saying, you're kind of like going through the flow of kind of what's, what you're used to. Yeah. And then when it comes, then there's like a certain point where you're like self-examining and you're like, wow, I actually went through all of this, and
you got pretty far.
Yeah. And I did get really far, but also I don't think I enjoyed myself. Okay.
It's like, is there a way to get that far? Like, it felt like a sprint, and almost like to what point? Which is probably a testament to, in whatever endeavor we're doing, to try to just maybe, I don't know if slow down is the right word, but be more present.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of being more present and intentional, which might be the same thing, because when you're present, you're like consciously making a decision of, I'm going to be doing this, and kind of embracing that moment.
While still having your eyes set on a goal.
Yeah. Okay. And I think for me growing up, because, I'm super grateful for my parents and the experience that I've had, going through all the creative endeavors and athletic endeavors. But at the same time too, there was never a moment of where I stopped and paused and said, do I want to do this? And it took, my senior year in college, where I was like, you know what? I don't think I want to play soccer anymore. I'm going to pause. Like, I can't quite put words to it, but I'm just not going to do it. And, I ended up just focusing more on, graphic design, graduating, getting a job. And, I think that was like, I remember that feeling when I decided to stop playing soccer in college, and it was just like a moment where I felt like I could breathe. And, I miss my teammates, of course, like I miss, the camaraderie of it, but it just felt like I had just more space to
I'm sure,
me.
and I'm sure you've heard the other side. I've had two guests come to mind, Jabari Sandifer and Jake from Holy Doe, had injuries respectively on like basketball and baseball. And then, so on the other end of the spectrum, it's like it puts you out without your own volition, and part of your identity is gone.
It is. Yeah, in some way it is, because, it's almost like a breakup where you're like, man, I have spent so many years doing this one thing that was my identity, and now a part of that is gone. So like, who am I now? Was
there a point where you wanted to go beyond D3? Like what is the current, like what's the sentiment amongst soccer players? Like is it to go pro, or is there like a finality to it, like an end point?
I kind of laugh, because if we have any soccer fans watching, it's a love-hate.
Okay.
Because soccer is so political here.
Oh.
And it is a lot of it too, from my experience, other folks' experience. It's that competitive spirit can sometimes take a turn to a point where it becomes toxic.
Where it's all-consuming, where people are willing to, out of desperation, cut corners. Like, in what way toxic?
Yeah, so it's more of like the culture. Ooh. Because it is so competitive. You're vying to make the roster of a very elite team, or these certain clubs, and there's certain coaches that you need that are going to be there at either a camp or a practice or a game, and it just builds that. That mindset that you are playing not for the love of the game, but to impress other people.
Oh, sounds like a pre-med student. To be honest, it's like you're getting notches on your belt to build a resume and like you said, impress admissions committees or whomever. Do you? I mean, you realize it at the right time.
Yeah, and I look back and think, oh man, like if I had a different mindset or approach to soccer, would I have gotten farther? But like I don't linger too much on it, because I like where I am now. Yeah. And it sounds silly, but like everything happens for a reason.
It does, right? But even if it happened differently, if it's as political as you say it is, it's like, I don't know. Do people still make it that far without playing the game?
I don't know. I like try not to think about it too much.
Okay.
And if anything,
because you're still playing in rec leagues these days.
I do, and it's probably the most fun I've had playing soccer in my entire life, because in some ways, like, oh, it's just rec, but like at the same time too, I'm doing it on my terms.
Yeah.
I took a break from soccer after college and didn't think I would ever play again. But then through knowing friends from the city and with other like leagues popping up, slowly getting back into it. And I've been playing for a while now, but I'm doing it because I love playing.
Yeah.
I'm not doing it for anyone else.
It's a testament to how some things might just need to stay as a hobby.
Right.
To be pure, I guess, or to continue finding joy in it. It doesn't have to be a job.
Right.
And there's still that competitive drive in you, though, despite it being a rec league. I'm sure you're still playing with really good people.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I play with some really, really good people, and we're my teams are all very competitive, but we also like have a good time.
Okay. Tell me, what was the impetus to switch from Carroll to Judson?
I think there was so I did 2 years at Carroll, and I think there was a moment where, I was looking at, what I wanted to do with design. Okay. It was still very early in the college path, and, I was thinking, I'm from Chicago, design in Chicago is so great. And not saying that Milwaukee or Wisconsin isn't, but I was like, what if I went to a school closer to the city where I'm from and get that experience? And, from there, I kind of, once I have like an inkling of something, it's hard for me to shake it.
Oh, yeah. Kind of obsessive in a way.
Yeah. So then, once I had that thought, I started examining more. Like, okay, let's look at schools that I did tour back in the day and, check out, their design programs. And I felt like Judson had a really great design program, access, kind of connections to the city and, looking at folks who graduated from there and the professors. And I felt like the more I started digging into that, I felt like it was almost like necessary for me to transfer.
There's so much intention in that. Like, who taught you? Who told you to research the professors, right? Like, who?
Oh gosh, my parents.
That shows that you care.
Mm-hmm.
So as like the instructor and owner of an EMT program, I get pretty trivial questions of like, when's your next class? What do I need to join? What does it take to become an EMT? All things that are easily Googleable. Mm-hmm. And so when I hear that you're going the extra mile to really find out what's a good fit, there's something inherent about how badly you want it.
Yeah, and I feel like that drive, I learned that from my parents.
Okay.
Them being their business like owners of their own business.
Yeah.
And them being so supportive of me. I remember when I eventually transferred to Judson, there was a program that out in New York, and the program is no longer around, and is essentially a semester where 20 or so students from different universities in the States all like live in the same apartment, and we do classes. We do design art classes in the city. Everyone goes out and looks for their own internship. It's
kind of like the Real World show.
It was like
for designers.
Yes, it was, and it was like one of the best experiences that I had. And I remember when that program came to my school and was talking about it, and I was like, hey, like we're recruiting, like it was like a whole application that you had to apply for, and I like wanted to do it. I've never lived on my own. Okay. At this point, I've like, always had like the comfort of being at home or at least a couple hours from home.
Sure.
And my parents, they were nervous about it at first because they're like, Alyssa in the city, like she's never rode, the CTA before, like in Chicago, let alone like now she has to like
builds character.
Yeah, fend for yourself and ride the Metro in New York. And so they were like, you know what? Like, just go do it. Yeah. And it was the best experience. I like grew up so fast, but in a way that like I needed to. Outside
of art, what was formative about your semester in New York? Like how did you learn? Did you learn anything about like how to carry yourself?
Yes. So a sense of independence and freedom come up for me when I think about that time. And there, in a way too, where, school tuition covered it. So there was that freedom where like, oh, I don't have to worry about, money in that sense for rent or kind of like getting around. But, what stood out to me and like how I carried myself was due to a lot with the internship that I had there. I interned at Glamour magazine. Oh, and as you can tell, like Glamour magazine in New York, and I had a lot of really great mentors there. Yeah, that intentionally and might have unintentionally like taught me just lessons on professionalism. Right, like writing an email. Like I remember one of the first times I, got a request from my boss, and inquiry, and then I'm like writing back thank you, or like, and I remember she's like, you don't have to just email me thank you, like I get it, like and I'm like okay. And just like just observing people, the team in meetings, the way that they carried themselves, the way that they presented the work or interacted with the client and other folks, like it was I was a sponge and absorbed it all.
Were they doing things that you felt like you could see yourself doing one day?
Yeah, I thought I was going to move to New York after school and, work in publication and, be in that same space.
Okay.
Be in kind of like the fashion industry. And, in some ways, like, there's small pockets of that pop up today. But I saw myself there when I had that.
I saw that post with Stitch God. I was like, fashionista.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. She's great.
Okay. So then what happened? Like did you come back to Chicago rejuvenated? Like you're on a mission now. You're like, I'm going to conquer the world. Like what was that feeling like?
I had like this high. I was like, oh my God, like I'm going to go out there. Like, and, immediately I was like, let me get my resume going and my portfolio together. I want to start applying to places.
Right. Because, and was that within the third year or fourth year?
That was my junior year.
Junior year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I had one more year.
You had one more year. And what was with that? Because like, I don't know if a lot of fourth years, seniors feel this in college, of this like impending doom of like this. Sometimes like freedom can be crippling if you don't have a goal in mind, and like you don't have the regimented schedule of school anymore, and you're like, what do I do? Especially if you don't land a job. Right. And so what did you, and I have a feeling because of how intentional you are, you probably made the most out of your fourth year. What did you fill your time with in order to set yourself up for after school? Yeah.
So that last year, it was like such a combination of everything. So my dad passed away unexpectedly.
Oh my goodness.
That year after I came back from New York, and it was like, it was like very traumatic time. And I think with kind of the fire and drive from, experiencing what I did in New York, and then obviously, losing my dad, I had like all of this like energy within me to
sense of purpose.
To really kind of get what I like, apply to places, reach out, put my portfolio together. And, it at the time that, and I think there's good and bad in that. The good part was the tactical side of, I was able to like, by putting myself out there, by doing all this, like I lucky enough and fortunate to get a job after I graduated. But that also taught me to like really bury a lot of emotional trauma.
Yeah.
And obviously not healthy in the long run.
Is your sister younger or older?
She's younger.
Younger. How did you guys come together as a family after your dad passed away?
Yeah, it's, I think we all had our own timeline. Yeah. I think my sister really focused on healing emotionally first. I know that like she focused a lot more on that than I did. In some ways maybe we kind of like flipped the script and reversed it, but somehow have like come to kind of the same place now. But I remember I was more of like heads down, let's get to work.
Sure.
And she was kind of like, well, this doesn't feel right, and I want to resolve that.
Was she in college at the time?
Yeah, she was.
Okay. Like leave of absence?
And that's the thing, we both kind of stuck through it.
Yeah.
And, looking back on it, I don't know if I would have done it any differently.
No, I mean, there's no right or wrong. It's everyone's on their own path, like you said. But did you get the feeling that life moves on with or without you?
It does. Yeah. And I think like, the idea of moving on, there was like a sense of guilt, right? Like, oh man, like if I'm moving on, does that mean the memory of what I had of my dad, like, that doesn't continue, that stops right there.
Yeah. So do you stay put?
So that's where like my like instinct of like fight or flight kind of kicks in, and it's like, okay, I gotta do it.
Yeah. How was mom through all this?
It was tough for her too. Yeah, it was tough for everyone. And, I think now, the dialogue was always open for us to talk through it. And, obviously, we all had our like own challenges and things we had to navigate. Like I lost a father, my mom, lost a husband, and, those experiences and perspectives are different, even though we lost someone, the same person.
Yeah.
And, you know, in some ways we're probably still like navigating that, but, you know, but, you know, we've all rallied together as a family, and,
how do you cover the gaps, right? Cover the void. How do you fill that void? Like it like on a similar tangent, if someone isn't having an ideal relationship with their parents, can chosen family fill that void?
Oh, absolutely. I believe that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And similarly, when you lose someone as close as could be a sibling or a partner or a parent, is that void, you know, how do you cope with that? Is that void fillable? I can't imagine how your mom, if your mom felt like she had to be a second parent, you know, it's like, obviously huge shout out to all the single parents out there. It's just like wearing multiple hats, 2 hats instead of one.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like she probably did. And I think maybe maybe a slightly different way, because my sister and I were adults.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't depend on her in a way that, you know, if we were a lot younger.
So it's more of a void of companionship, maybe. Yeah.
But, you know, to your question of, you know, filling that void, what do you fill that with, or, you know, if you can, and you know, over the years of therapy and just really kind of examining that, it's different. You know, there's nothing that will fully replace it. You just learn to live with it. It's a part of you now.
Yeah. How often do you see your mom?
Well, so my whole family lives in Texas.
Whoa!
Yeah,
no more longer of like.
No more longer of. I'm the only one standing strong here in Illinois.
Okay.
I just saw them a few weeks ago.
Okay.
Family vacations.
Wow.
So yeah, a few times a year.
Okay. Wow. Do you wish it was more?
Of course. Yes and no. Because you know, you're like, oh, you know, if family was closer, you're like, oh my gosh, but you're too close. Like, I need the space. But
are they asking you to move, or they're like, no, Alyssa's doing their own thing. They're crushing it out there.
They have asked me once or twice jokingly, but there's no joke of it.
Wow. And the way, like, I feel like you're gonna say yes to this, but like, do you feel like you're at this point a Chicagoan through and through? It's like, how do you leave? You know, it's like with all the work that you've been doing with Chicago, it's like, it's a part of you now. You know, it's like, I mean, I guess obviously you can't leave. It's just like it's so ingrained in your DNA these days.
It is, yeah. I'm never leaving. but I knew that, and I felt that even before I did.
Really?
You know, art. This is my home.
Yeah. Let's see. The hat, the Bulls hat was special. It stood out amongst the other hats. This morning, I bought your poster from Check It Out.
Oh, nice.
How does all this like come to be, Alyssa? And if I wasn't shooting a wedding this weekend, I would be there at the Porsche event if I could.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot of it's Instagram, if not all of it. I feel very fortunate. I don't know what the algorithm is or the secret sauce of it, but a lot of it is stemmed through, hey, I saw your work at on Instagram, or I saw this mural that you did here, and like someone shared this thing with me. So it's a lot. Yeah, I feel very lucky.
In a lot of your bios, it states you're a multidisciplinary artist, which seems to be all encompassing. But is there anything that like you would elaborate on that with? Or is that enough for you? Like is that?
It's hard to put.
I know, right?
I don't know what to call myself sometimes, because it's like, but I say artist, it's like, you know, people have like a perception of what an artist is. Like when you say creative, it's like so too broad, right? Like, and you know, at some point I just want to be like, I'm just me, just Alyssa.
And so, what's most visible is, would you say, the mural?
Yeah, if you asked me that question last year, I would say yes, but lately it's been a lot of collaborations too. So that's where the multidisciplinary artist and designer is, because it does stem from a design like design thinking.
Yeah.
But then the execution and the way it manifests is through painting, or it could be on, a product.
Yeah. What was it? Scarves, merch, T-shirts, hats, walls, beer cans. Shout out Mars. It's infinite, the possibilities.
Yeah, and that's what I'm learning and realizing too along the way, is that there is really no limit to art and the way that you create things.
Yeah, but the signature is distinct. You look at a mural, you look at a hat. I don't know about that Bulls hat, but maybe like after seeing enough of your work. But like, there are certain color palettes or shapes that are distinct to you.
Mm-hmm.
And at this point, like, when do you feel like you have to evolve? Or like, or do you have that sentiment of like, oh, this is what I'm known for. Is this what I'm going to do for the rest of my life?
I don't feel that way.
Go ahead.
Or at least I don't want to put the pressure on myself to do that. And I think it's funny. I had a conversation with my mom about it recently, and she, there's certain points where you can see in the art where things are shifting, where I'm using a little more organic shapes, or being more pictorial, or the way that they all come together. And it's all case by case. It's kind of what the objective is, and the story and the narrative I'm trying to tell.
Yeah.
But at the same time too, like, I started doing art because I wanted to. I felt like I needed to. And it was a way for me to cope and escape and, just internalize things that are happening kind of my day to day, or, through other people's stories. And I set out to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to create these things. And if I don't feel like doing it, then I don't have to. And because if I force myself to do something, and from past experiences in my life, then I'm either going to be like super stressed and miserable, or I'm going to burn out. And that's not to say like there's times where like I feel like the hint of burnout, but going through different life experiences and applying it to your art, I realize, what, like, I don't have to do it if I don't want to. And that influences the way that my art evolves, or might not evolve, where I don't have to put the pressure on myself to evolve. And if my art stays the same, then it does, because it makes me happy, and it, seems to make other people happy.
Yeah. Just do it for yourself, right? That's always been the through line. With that. But I mean, these days, like, I guess completely side tangent, like, have you had adult or professional conversations with your mom? Do you like, has that relationship evolved into like professionals? Like, can one like professional colleagues? In a way, right? It's like when you're having an issue. Oh, the question I was thinking of, and you can answer that one, but to pin it is like, you also have to eat, right? So like, did you have consistent income to be able to have this wiggle room to turn down projects or do things you don't want to do?
Yeah, I do. So I also have a full-time design gig. I don't want to say gig, but like it's a full-time design job. And I think that's the part of being the designer and the artist too, is like, being able to flex and have that experience. So it is, I'm in a position where I can turn down illustration or mural projects and be more selective on that. But at the same time too, like, the design side and the art side do influence each other.
Okay. So, and can you tell me what boxes the design gig checks off for you that makes you want to stay? And aside from the revenue.
Yeah, it's honestly for me, it's about being kind of connected to technology, connected to other folks, my team, the collaboration, that camaraderie of, brainstorming, solving a problem, solving kind of like larger issues that, can help support other businesses.
I see. Is there anything else you can share about that type of work, or is it kind of hush hush?
No, it's not. It's not hush hush. I guess so I work for a consultancy called Gemini out in Portland. So the whole team's remote.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
Yeah.
And what type of design work do you do for Gemini?
So given that it's a consultancy, design is a part of the organization. So, we're working on websites, we're working on, digital production, and, right now we're redesigning our company website, and I did the branding for the company too. So it's, being a part of
I see what
that.
you mean.
It's
that can be fulfilling.
Yeah. It definitely is. And for a bit I was a contractor with them while I was trying to figure out where the mural in my practice would take me, and got to a point where I was able to do both, and I felt like there was room for each. I didn't feel the burnout, and they're very supportive, and what I do creatively outside of work, and vice versa. So we were like, hey, let's, I would love to be full-time.
Wow. Do you hear that to be the case amongst other, I don't know how to label this, multidisciplinary artists, like other creatives? Yeah. Like, is it hard to find steady work?
I can't speak for that, but at least for me, it has taken time to find this balance between doing both. And I've my mural practice I've done it for about like 3 or 4 years, and it's always evolving every year. So it's kind of like trial and error, seeing as you go. And where I was a couple years ago, I'm not working on the same type of projects that I am now.
Yeah.
And kind of the same goes for like the work that I was doing back then. So a lot of it was like, the trial and error of seeing how I can balance it, given kind of the workload that I have on both ends. Okay,
I see. These days, I want to run through your process. So like, let's say someone comes in with an inquiry, and this is a project that you have the bandwidth and desire to do. How do we proceed from the inquiry?
Yeah, from there, we would do like a kickoff call, or I just want to get on a call. Okay. And like talk through what they're looking for, maybe get more details on the timeline, and maybe talk about kind of the price range, and usually from there, if we both agree, then we'll get contracts going. And Do
you find yourself working like there is such a thing as too much time, right? Like, so what is it normally for you? Weeks to months, or?
Oh man, it depends.
I know. It's really, like there's such a wide spectrum of projects that you work on.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I guess speak on like constraints in general with like timelines.
It's all about balance of all the other projects that I'm working on. Because sometimes a project that if there's nothing going on, and someone says, "Hey, we have a few weeks," then I'll take that on because I don't have anything else on my plate. But if it's a bunch of those types of projects, then it would be difficult to juggle it, because it takes a lot of like brain energy and capacity for me to do all the context switching. Yeah.
I know you said you can be good at context switching. Inspiration can be fleeting. Mm-hmm. So do you enjoy juggling multiple projects? Or just like, this morning I'm not feeling this one, I'm going to work on another one.
That actually is kind of true. That is pretty true. Where I'm like, I've focused on this one for a while, and I should start thinking about this one next.
How in the mood do we have to be?
It's a combination of being in the mood, but also being realistic. Like, okay, I have a due date. I can't like sit on this anymore.
I'm a procrastinator, and why is it that given a week, I do my work in the last 48 hours?
Honestly, sometimes the best work that I create is in 48 hours. So I have this belief in me that it'll get done. Yeah. And it always does. And, there are very rare times where, I would push back and say like, hey, I need an extra day or a couple days. Like it's not ready. And usually I haven't experienced where a client or a partner says like, no, like,
yeah.
And so I think in that way, the part that kicks in is to be inspired, but also the realities of
and to be inspired comes from such random places. Sometimes it's like you can't pull it out.
Sometimes I can,
Ooh.
but sometimes I can if I'm like online browsing through like Pinterest or Instagram or wherever.
But are these from mood boards that you set for yourself, or how did like just random scrolling?
So for every project, I always create a Pinterest board of just found things that I find online. And, for instance, like the Babe Sports Bar. I knew immediately. When it comes to taking on a project, I think what really that allows me to say yes is if I'm actually like if I'm feeling it. Like if I feel like super inspired, I'm like can't wait to like jump into it. But then also the realities of like, is this possible? Do I have the capacity? So
how do you restoke that fire from time to time?
So typically from there, it's just like searching online. Like, what are some things out there that are similar or different, or what are some patterns that I really like, or if there isn't a constraint on color palette, like what are some really cool like color combinations out there. So and from there it's just I have this collection of inspiration in a board. So maybe at that time I only have the capacity to like look up inspiration, but I know eventually down the line, next week or in a few days, like I already have that space set up. Then I don't have to like focus my brain on finding things. It's already filtered out in there, and then I can jump in.
Okay, I see. How collaborative is that kickoff call, or how collaborative do you like? Would you like your projects to be? Like sometimes I'm sure they're like, "Oh, you Alyssa, like take the reins," and then sometimes maybe there's a certain conversation that takes place. And sometimes I find it very fulfilling to have it be more collaborative. But how is it for you? Like, do you enjoy that on certain projects, and maybe on others, it's like, yeah, it's full creative freedom. Go run wild.
I love collaboration. Like the more information, the better for me. But also I know sometimes like people just, prefer to like see how you would approach it. And, from in projects like that, I really press and ask, okay, so if there isn't necessarily, because I need a starting point. Right? And there are starting points like, oh, it's going to go on this building. So this is the audience. And then this is how people they want to interact with it. Okay. So that tells me, okay, if it's a mural of this size and they want people to interact with it, like, how are they interacting with it? Is it a picture? Is it like, where's the, like, where are they starting from? Like average, like line of eyesight.
Ooh, these are good questions.
Like little things like that kind of allow me to then understand, okay, how much detail, what's the scale. I then would ask, okay, if you don't necessarily know what you want on there and you want me to come up with it, like what feelings do you want evoked when people see it? Like what's the story you're trying to tell?
I used to do weddings photography, and sometimes clients are not happy, despite asking the right questions in the beginning of like, what would you like me to capture? What feelings would you like to be evoked? And you can't win them all. But do you feel like you've dialed your like kickoff questions to that point where you're minimizing the chances for dissatisfaction?
Yeah, I think so. From there, I always like share a recap, like, hey, this is what we talked about. And this is the design side that helps with the business part of being an independent artist is, sharing a recap, like, hey, this is what we talked about. This is what I heard. And it's not as transactional as it sounds. It's more of like, hey, like, this is what you're going to see next is this. If there's anything else that we didn't capture, like,
there
let
are
me know.
conversations along the way.
Oh, for sure. There's different milestones and touch points. Like, yeah.
You're a true professional. Did that come from school or the design job?
It was always evolving.
Okay.
There was probably a portion of it that started in design school, but it really tightened up in the agency.
You know, like with these big brands like the Bulls, the Blackhawks, Salt Shed, you know, it's very flattering when they say they found you through Instagram, but something like, I'm sure they vetted you. I'm sure they're like, Alyssa's a pro.
Mm-hmm.
Like Alyssa is someone that would not drop a ball. You know, it's just like, that's what I mean, is like evolving that professionalism, how you carry yourself, you know, showing up on time, being responsive, like little things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure like that. Those things I learned in college. Like there was a course, I can't even remember the name of it, but I remember it was just about professionalism, like how to show up in an interview, how to even draft a thank you email after the interview, things to maybe either like leave behind, how to even we practice on how to give proper handshakes.
Show me. What? This is it?
Yep.
And what did you do differently prior to that?
I don't even think I did a handshake before. but there was like, you know, like a firm grip and like nothing too like soft, but not like too hard. You don't want to squeeze.
What would you think about this one? So I'm usually one of these.
Okay.
But Trump would do one of these, like pull you in, be the power move.
Oh, no. I think I would freeze. I'd be like, I don't know what to do.
Okay. I appreciate that. I can't. So tell me, was Kava the first? What was your first big client?
I think they're big in the sense of
like
the
you didn't
brand.
think you'd get this this opportunity.
I would say like when I first the beginning was probably the Bulls mural for Bulls Fest.
Okay.
Because that was like one of the first like professional sports teams that I worked with, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that's crazy. And it's still, and like whenever I work on projects with them, I get the same feeling.
Yeah.
And so that was like the big one that like changed it for me. But I would say in terms of scale and mural, like Wayfair.
Okay.
Yeah.
The outside of Wayfair.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, gotcha. You're a 90s kid, so like what did you watch? You watched the Bulls, like that's what makes it okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I love that so much. What was the first time your mom came to see your work?
Ooh, first time. So one of the first murals I did was kind of the transition of like pandemic when you know, a lot of businesses wanted, you know, signage up like in their like public spaces, like painted murals. And I painted one about voting, like encouraging people to go vote.
Oh yeah.
That was like the first one that I did. And I remember when my mom like came to visit me, I like took her there and I saw and showed her. So there was that one. And then obviously when she came to visit me, like last year, she saw the Wayfair mural.
Did you have help on the Wayfair mural? Because it's big.
Did.
Yeah.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long does a project like that take?
So we painted that mural in about a week, if not less.
Okay. Did that meet your expectations?
Honestly, that was the first mural that I painted that big. So I did not
Did you give
have
yourself
any
more time? Okay.
Well, so how we work that out, like sometimes artists, they will see the whole project from start to finish, from like, you know, doing the concept to then, you know, there's a portion of being an independent artist. And if you're going to do large scale murals like that, it involves renting the equipment, understanding how much paint to get, hiring the crew and all of the tools and materials and the timeline of it. And especially with an outdoor mural, there's a lot of contingencies and a lot of factors, like, you know, how's the surface going to be by the time I paint, like especially with new construction, like how's the construction and, you know, vehicles, like how that is going to operate. But then also weather's a huge component. So with the Wayfair mural, I co-collaborated with Andrea from Stillatus Labs and, you know, with her crew. So she handled all of the, you know, equipment rental and, you know, with the actual execution of the painting. And I told her, I was like, hey, like, I want to assist you.
Yeah.
I was like, I've never painted a mural that size.
Okay.
Like, I want to learn from you. I want to know like the ins and outs, and let me be your assistant.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And what did you pick up on doing murals?
Just all the different tools in painting of that scale. And also there were surprises that, you know what, all you need is like a really large level. And, you know, you can have like stencils, like a lot of it, like it surprised me. Like a lot of it was just, you know, measuring what I normally do, but if it were a smaller scale.
Would the MetaQuest work on a scale like that?
I don't know. I have another friend who used it for a large mural, maybe not for the same height, but in different segments.
Yeah.
And she said that it worked for her.
Like without it, how often are you stenciling and then taking a step back?
You know, I for that size, I think it because you can't quite see it that far when it's like that large.
Yeah. Okay.
But you kind of have to trust the math.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Were you a math kid?
It's funny because I rely so much on measuring and math for my work, and I was not a math kid. I was a straight C math student until I got to geometry. I aced it.
Oh, okay.
which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I was not a math kid.
What about some other projects? Like, was it collaborative with All Star Press with the hat?
Yeah. They've been really great partners, and we worked together on that.
What about like on what like, because the shapes are I get your eye for the shapes and stuff.
Yeah, I guess for that hat specifically, it was very open-ended.
Yeah.
So when they have the series and they ask, you know, their artists for that season to create hats, they, you know, the only restraint is, you know, it needs to have the, you know, the sponsor logos and the hat structure itself, but everything's kind of like
people
what you
had
wanna
different
do.
structures.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for me, I knew, you know, I wanted, when it came to creating that hat, I wanted something that was more subtle.
Really?
And in the way that the colors were.
Okay. Okay.
Subtle.
Because the embroidery was thick. It was
yeah. I loved how thick it was. But I wanted something that was pulled back in the color palette.
Okay.
Because I think, you know, a lot of the stuff that I do is very colorful.
Yeah.
There's, you know, variety of different color combinations, but I wanted something that was more restricted in the palette, which then for me, it relied a lot on the shape of the bull.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, you know, what if I recreated the bull in just shapes?
Ooh.
And it was really challenging to create. And it took longer than I anticipated because of the restraints, but I felt like I'm onto something. Like I knew, like when I was moving the shapes around in Illustrator, that like there's something there. It just didn't quite feel it. And it took a few hours here and there to like lay something out, and I'm like, yeah, it's getting closer. And then I would like put it away and then come back and like see something different.
Yeah.
And then once it got to like the composition that I wanted, I was like, okay, I think this is it.
That's so dope. What about the Chicago Fire scarf?
Yeah, so that one was for their AAPI game, and I, you know, the objective of that was, you know, the requirements had to have like the fire logo. There's different structures of that, so I knew, okay, what am I playing with to begin with, and you know, build something around there, and you know, I just love, you know, the lotus flower and the shapes, and you know, wanting to create something, you know, obviously geometric, but like that's kind of, that's naturally where my mind goes. Even if I'm starting off illustrating something that's very intricate, it always naturally goes back to something very geometric.
I see. Yeah. Tell me about how did Checked It Out happen?
They reached out to me on Instagram.
What?
That was,
again? Okay.
Yeah, and Actually, they reached out to me last year.
Okay.
On it, and I remember I was like painting a mural when I saw their message, and I was like, "Oh my God, what?" I was like,
So you were aware of them?
Yeah.
Okay.
I am through the creative space. I wouldn't call myself a car person.
Okay, because they've hosted events on Randolph.
Yes. Yeah. And I've seen like the recaps of it. I've
Okay.
never necessarily like attended.
Yeah.
But I'm familiar with them, and then some of the artists that they've collaborated with in the past.
See, I didn't know they collaborate with artists before. But like, there's something curious about yourself when they were sharing how you came to design the 901. Mm-hmm. You asked certain questions to evoke that out.
Because I knew I knew nothing about cars, and I still don't. But I'm like asking, like, hey, what is this thing of the car? Like, can you explain, like, what? And I told them too. I'm like, I will illustrate the car and like my style, but like I said to them, I'm like, I really need to rely on you to tell me if this is accurate. Because in my brain, it does look accurate because of, it's a car. But to your community, they're going to know right away, like this is off. So yeah, we had like rounds where I'm like, okay, here's the design. Like, let's get on a call, like point it out to me. Like, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to mark it up. Like, tell me like what's like the scale that's off, or like, there needs to be like this,
That's
element.
so cool.
So
that's so cool. I can't wait to frame it. I wish I had it in time so you can sign it, but
I can't wait to see it in
here.
person.
It's gonna be in the office somewhere. After doing research on your work, if you're open to it, I would love to commission a piece.
Oh, yeah.
Most recent merch is taking a photo of the front of the school and kind of just printing it on the back. But I wonder what questions you would have if you were, like, let's say front left chest and back.
Okay.
So I know you've worked with like Literally Outside, Salt Shed, Chicago Marathon. Like, what questions would you ask about emergency medicine or the class if there was a shirt in mind?
Yeah, I would ask, like, what are the shirts for? Like, what is it, like, is this something that is for an event? Is it, a giveaway, for folks taking your class? Is like a takeaway? Is it just more of like an evergreen product that you want to have?
It would be evergreen. I think it would be an homage or a representation of our love for emergency medicine. So it would be evergreen, but the demographic that we're, I guess, targeting, I don't do a lot of advertising on social media, but the people that end up taking our class typically purchase like a shirt as a token of like the amount of work that they put into this class. So if it was an evergreen memento of one's love for emergency medicine, that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I think a few, tourniquets come to mind, C-collars come to mind.
Yeah, I would ask like objects, like what's the process? Like just even like what's the course like? Like what?
Yeah.
Like, what are all the courses? Like, do you want to commemorate, all the courses on the shirt?
No, maybe not. I don't know. The courses come and go. How long do you think it takes to become an EMT?
Oh my God, I don't even know. I'm afraid. I'm afraid to even guess.
It's a college semester.
Okay.
So it's a fall, spring, or summer. So it's accelerated in the summer.
All right.
But about 20 weeks. Wow. That's it. And we only meet twice a week.
Okay.
But as an EMT, you learn a little about a lot. So imagine calling 911, an EMT, but in Chicago, a paramedic would arrive, and they are expected to know a little about a lot, at least enough to get you stabilized and get you to definitive care, which is the emergency department, and the ER will take it from there. But the paramedics are the highest level of care in the pre-hospital setting. Wow. So they have to know a little about a lot. But in our class, most of our students come because they want to go to higher level of care. They want to become physicians, PAs, nurses, and then they're going to know a lot about a little eventually. But if someone were to collapse, have a seizure, faint, have chest pain, like, not only would you know the know-how of what to do, but you'd be calm and composed in rendering care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I'm like imagining like, how that would manifest in an illustration.
I'm trying to imagine squares. Like, is there a certain color palette that comes? I don't know. Like, I don't even know.
Well, I would ask you, like, what's your brand? Like if you have
literally think the Chicago flag.
Okay. So I remember seeing like some of those colors outside.
Exactly. Its logo's up there in that poster. So it's like that. That's kind of the color palette. It always surprises me when like that name Chicago EMT Training was not taken. But the ability to teach this class lies with one's license, not the location. We were at UIC prior to this.
Okay.
So we've been doing this for about 13 years now.
Oh wow.
And coming up on 4 years under this brand. And I guess similar to your design gig, like that's my gig. Teaching this class is my gig, and it allows me to play with this podcast.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know. Like, I have questions for you.
Any questions?
Yeah. Well, then how did that like transition between doing the podcast? Because they're not necessarily, like, in my mind, they're not necessarily related, like, with design and art. Like, you could see that through line.
Yeah. It was born at a point when I felt burnt out teaching this class. And I was burnt out teaching the class, maybe largely due to feeling like an imposter. Because I also left the ambulance. I was in Cicero's fire department.
Okay.
And this will blow your mind. I was making $13 an hour. It's come a long way since that, but I was making more money teaching and doing other things. I was an anesthesia tech at Northwestern as well. And so I made the decision to leave. Also, I had a pup at home, and I was single at the time, and it's like, who's going to watch my dog if I'm gone for 24 hours at a firehouse?
Yeah.
So when you're no longer practicing what you're teaching, you feel like an imposter. And at that time, I was listening to a lot of Tim Ferriss. I was listening to a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk, and Gary had this content deck of like, how do you distribute content? So like create long form content, cut it up into short form content. And podcasts were booming at that time. So that's where the podcast was born. And it was my excuse to chat with interesting individuals in any industry. And I kind of had a goal in mind of like just exploring and seeing what else is out there that I could possibly get into. And through a guest who was a wedding photographer, she brought me on as a second, like months go by after our episode. Months go by and she's like, would you want a second shoot with me? And I'm still second shooting with her these days.
Wow.
And I think after doing it for a couple years, like having my own weddings, like I think I've come to a point where I don't want to do weddings full time. But, second shooting is fun. And that, you just show up, take photos, and give your memory card back to the lead shooter. But there's no, front end or back end of it. And the clip I posted last night, he's a friend now, Ryan Doris, bodybuilder, eloquently explained how, I guess, as you're growing up, it's your duty to explore and become self-aware of maybe your talents, things that bring you joy, and to lean into that. And along the way, you'll get kind of FOMO of like, oh, I want to be like that. I want to do these things and that thing. But it's like, just kind of lean into what you're good at. If there are ingredients to what you're currently doing that you can modify to increase the level of fulfillment, do that. And after he said that, I kind of reaccepted teaching, and hence I'm still teaching, right? Yeah. And from that point on, the podcast kind of became less and less, despite us talking so much about career stuff, it's like less and less about career and more so about fulfillment. And, sometimes fulfillment comes from your career, but I think a lot of our episodes these days come from how we spend our time outside of our work, who we spend it with, and if balance is even possible amongst work and your personal life. Sometimes it's not, sometimes, and it's a sprint sometimes, and sometimes it's a lull. And I continue doing this because it is my excuse to meet interesting individuals. Without this, we have why would you ever meet me?
Yeah.
There's no reason for you to meet me.
Right. Like, unless if we are in the same circle of friends or activities.
Really no reason.
Yeah.
Like, for people, and I think it'd be a little different for you and I, but there are definitely guests where if I were to strike up a conversation, they may or may not entertain it, but there's an incentive for you to come on because I'm going to spend some time recording this. Like, I spent time producing it. Every guest, I'm probably going days to weeks of research. And then it's usually hours to days of editing, and I'm rewatching the episode at 2 times the speed, and I'm teasing out Instagram clips, and then I'm making these clips and taking photos and all that stuff, a lot of photoshopping. And yeah, it feels like a job, but I think like I continue to do it because I thoroughly enjoy learning and hearing about these individuals, and I think sometimes it's not always my intention, like, but your experiences help me live a more fulfilling life. Like I get to learn how should I carry myself. How should I spend my time with my loved ones? And you guys lead by examples.
For sure. No, thanks for sharing. I feel like, that's like that a lot, like that resonates with me.
Okay.
Because like even though you're interviewing me, like I'm also a consumer of your podcast. So I'm learning from your guests too.
Yeah.
So it is this like cyclical thing where, you are curious enough to learn about other people, and your audience is curious enough to learn about your guests.
Yeah. And these days it's like, I think if I was tied to a metric or a result, I probably would have given up. And there is probably a consistent, like just almost 100 listeners. Some episodes take off and some don't. Most don't. Most it's like 50 listeners, 50 listens, maybe to 100 listens. And what helps is like, oh, imagine 100 people in the room. It's like, yeah, that's still a lot of people. Yeah. But I'm not. I say I'm not. I try to not be tied to the results. I tell myself I do this because I love meeting interesting people. And I think for the guest, I wish these clips and episodes take off. But I think if I really cared about it that much, I wouldn't batch 10 clips in one post. I think I would spread them out and do it that way.
But you're doing it because you want to, or in the moment you're feeling like, yeah, this clip is important in surfacing it. Yes,
but I put it all in one post. It's a carousel. It's a carousel of 10 clips. When I first started, I would individual clips out because I wanted to motivate and I wanted to inspire, and that was my main drive. And these days, I think there is inspiration and motivation embedded in these conversations. But my main goal isn't to motivate or inspire. I think I've also realized that motivation and inspiration is fleeting, and a lot of that a lot of execution from inspiration, motivation comes from within.
Right. It's subjective because the person, what you might find inspiring might not be inspiring to other people, and vice versa.
Yeah. So that's why. That's why I continue to do this. I hope to do this as long as I can. I hope to have a permanent podcast space. I come here an hour early, and then I break down every time. Right. Otherwise, like it's a class by day. Yeah.
No, I think it's really cool. Like the setup and the way that like you build out the space. Honestly, like, it's authentic. It's who you are. So it's, it makes sense.
Yeah. Do you feel like after meeting someone, you had a few more hours to pick their brain?
I do. Like sometimes, like I'm always like, well, what about this? Like this like that response leads to like this question.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Is there any part of you that would have wanted a podcast?
Like me creating a podcast?
Yeah. If you had any more bandwidth in the world.
No,
that's honest.
Yeah, I don't like.
Because typically, like the usual answer is like everyone and their mother wants a podcast, and as they should if they can.
I'm someone when it comes to, I'm more of a consumer.
Okay.
Like and yes, there's the like bandwidth part.
Yeah.
But for me, like I'd rather, if I'm going to be participating in a podcast, I'd rather contribute to it.
Yeah.
And consume it as opposed to like being the host and managing it and running it.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That because there's as you probably just heard, there's a lot of work that goes into it.
There's like a skill in like continue like actively like listening, contributing, and I'm naturally an introvert.
Yeah, and when you said that, I thought of like the level of self-awareness it takes to know how you want to contribute in this world. Through what vessel?
Yeah. And, I'm always learning and evolving on it in this moment. Like, I feel very sure of how I want to contribute to the world. That might change tomorrow, that might change next week. But it honestly took time for me to figure that out and to figure out just evolving too.
Yeah.
For a while, I thought like, oh, make this one decision, I'm going to stay this way for the rest of my life. And, and then it's like, oh, definitely not like that at all. So, I try to carry myself in a way where like I'm present, I'm here. And, if things are stressful and I need a break, just take a break.
Yeah. What does the rest of your 2025 look like? And are there certain projects you're manifesting?
Right when I say I need to take a break, it's busy, but, and I always say, no more projects, I'm done. But then like something comes up and I'm like, could I squeeze it in?
Okay.
I can't quite say which projects yet, just because.
Sure, yeah.
I'm always like, I can't say it. Like, I don't want to say it until like there's an actual signed thing.
Oh, of course.
I'm like self-conscious about.
Yeah, rightfully so.
Not just from like a contract standpoint, but like as my own. Like,
is there anything you can share that's lighting you up, like that made you say yes to it?
There's another big mural that's
Okay.
going to happen, and that got me excited. Just not just the scale of it, but to be able to collaborate with a team that I love painting with. And
I know you say you remain present through all this, but do you ever let yourself dream about who's going to see this work, who's going to interact with this work, and what potential opportunities might come from this work?
There is a small part,
Yeah.
but that's I try not to think about it.
Okay.
And because to me, like you were saying, like being present is important. Is the project that's in front of me right now, there isn't a discussion around like, oh, who's going to see it or whatever. Like, there's always a potential for someone
Sure.
or anyone to see it, whether it's a very visible space or something that's very private too. And I think if I start thinking about the potential of access, then I think it takes me out of the moment of creating.
It does.
And that's not to say that I don't consider other people or communities when I do create something, but I want to approach every project from a very pure and authentic starting point. And just like from the beginning of when I painted, I'm painting because it makes me feel good, because there's a story that needs to be told, and it makes me happy in this moment. And I want to bring that same authenticity and joy when I create, regardless if it's, for the Bulls or for Wayfair or just for myself or creating a t-shirt for you. I want that same essence to be present on everything that I do.
Yeah. So these days you do it in your work too. It's just like, but do you do anything else purely for yourself? Or do you feel like you need that if you already give yourself in your paid work? Like I guess some people just need that purity just to feel that joy again. But if you're already giving so much of yourself to your paid work, I don't know if you have that inkling to like want to do something on the side.
Honestly, working out and playing soccer is purely for myself.
Okay.
So that is the balance. And that's not to say the artwork isn't for myself, because I put so much of myself in it. I see myself in all of the projects that I do.
Yeah.
And there isn't a project where I look at now and think, oh man, I'm not proud of it, because like I accept it in a moment where I feel very connected to it. There's the bandwidth for me to be like, realistically, that this can happen.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's like, if I set myself up for success on it, then it's going to have an everlasting effect within me, and then maybe for other people.
Yeah.
And then same thing with soccer. It's like I'm doing it for myself now.
Right.
And because I love the people that I play with, I love the community, I love the feeling that I get when I play, because it is for myself. I'm not playing for another coach or for another team.
Yeah.
And, So yeah, there I feel like there's time for me in every aspect.
Yeah. What about other mediums of art? So like the guest that comes to mind is David Allen, who traditionally gets paid to tattoo. And he shared that he loves painting, but he keeps painting. He doesn't really like commissioning paintings or selling his paintings. He just wants to keep it for himself.
Oh.
Are there any mediums that you maybe haven't explored yet that you want to dabble in? A little ceramics? I don't know. It's just what else?
Oh my gosh, I tried. Oh my gosh, I have a friend. One of my friends, she owns Penguin Foot Pottery, and I painted a mural in her and her husband's studio, and I've taken classes some classes there, and I just make the thickest bowls. It's the heaviest tiny little bowl that you would ever imagine, and I'm sure with enough practice, with anything you would get better, but I don't think I have it in me.
Yeah. Like for example, I guess this is not really, because I asked you like any mediums of art, but like things personally, it's like I'm trying to explore chess. I got my ass kicked in my first game of chess recently at a Oberweis by a 9-year-old. And then card magic, a little close-up magic.
Oh.
I've been getting a lot of videos for O's, the mentalist. So like mentalism is like very intriguing to me. Card magic, chess, and then jujitsu. So that's like my like physical outlet these days. But yeah, I think, I don't know, all to circle back, you're doing it. I don't know, it doesn't have to be art per se. It's like, it's really cool. Like I feel like you're such at peace. Like you're doing the damn thing. You're doing everything you possibly could have wanted to do, and then some.
Yeah, it does. It does feel like that. And, just trying to find a moment to, take a nap sometimes. But yeah, no, I feel very much at peace, and, it has taken time to get there, understand, kind of examine why, certain things are a certain way, or how to just kind of process a lot of stuff. And, but then, being at peace where I am, but also being at peace knowing that things might change.
Yeah. Was spirituality or religion any part of that?
Yeah, okay. I grew up Christian.
Okay.
And, grew up going to church, and, I met a lot of friends through church camps. Henry Kive, Three Little Pigs, like him and I are buds. Yeah. And there's still friends that I have that were a part of that community. So yeah, I think spirituality is was a big part of my DNA growing up, and in some ways it still resonates today. But I think in any instance when you're a kid and there are things that you experience, then you decide as an adult, like what's relevant for you now, what might not be relevant for you anymore, or so. Yeah. Okay.
In the _ episode, you had the creative act on the shelf, and you said you kind of carry it with you, and it provides a lot of inspiration for you. Have you picked it up recently?
I haven't, but I have thought about it.
I have not picked it up. I was going to ask if there was like a passage that kind of was more recent for you.
No, but there is one that's like everlasting for me. I'm not someone who recites word for word, but the beginner mindset.
Yeah.
And I mentioned it here, where it's like, reliving that and kind of like, reminding yourself, and maybe this is like the way to, like, for me to still feel grounded and connected.
Yeah, definitely. It's really cool to hear that. I wish you nothing but more success in 2025. Is there anything we haven't touched on before we hop off? Any other lingering questions? I don't know.
Maybe off camera. No.
Sure.
No, this is great. I appreciate your time and being able to
Likewise.
chat.
Yeah. I know people can find you on Instagram at Alyssa Low with 3 W's, because the first 2 are taken. Where else can people find you?
They can find me on my website, Alyssa Low with 1 W.com.
Okay. We didn't even talk, like, how was Soho? You finished that mural up? That was your second time at Soho, right?
Yeah.
Okay. 11 years. I didn't know Soho was that young.
I didn't know that either. And I was trying to think, like, 11 years ago, like, what was I doing? when they first open, because sometimes when like a new restaurant opens or a new like space,
oh
it's
my gosh, since 11 years, like like West Loop has changed dramatically.
It really has. Yeah.
So shout out Soho. Alyssa, thank you. Everyone else, give Alyssa a little follow if you're not following already, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Bye.
Sweet.
All done.